See something real quick. Say something, Dev.
Hello. Hello.
Say something, Dev.
Hello. Yeah, it's me. Hello.
All right, good. Something, Dev. All right, it's picking up today.
Hello. Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
good. Just wanted to test that before we get started. All right, see. All righty. Ready? Start the
Mhm.
intro. Oh, let me start recording first. Want to make sure I do that. Good. All
Being black in America comes with its challenges. However, we understand that enlightenment through education is the oppressor's worst fear. By bridging the gap between academia and the people, our purpose is to equip you with knowledge that breaks down barriers during your journey towards truth and freedom. Welcome to the Black and Highly Dangerous Podcast.
Dev, what's up? What's up? How your week been? Welcome back.
Uh, it's been pretty okay.
Uh-huh.
Been recovering because last week was the official deadline to submit
Yep,
my
yep, I remember that.
dissertation. And in addition to that, I was also traveling. I had to be in Boston for the week. So
Mm-hmm.
when I got back, I was just exhausted. And for the first time in a long time, I spent a couple of days just doing nothing. And it felt weird because I felt like I was supposed to be doing something, but I'm happy that I just set my hiney down,
Mm-hmm.
watched some Netflix, and just chilled.
No, I bet. I bet. That's how it is when you're on that super grind mode with your dissertation handed it in before that. Then it's good to just take a chill pill and just relax for a little bit. I know that feels good. It does feel weird because you probably was working for all times of the hour. But, definitely take that time for yourself because that is much needed and well deserved, to say the least.
Yeah, just really, overall excited. But now it's the nerve-wracking part because I don't know what my committee is gonna think.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? So we'll see.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah,
see.
yeah. That's always the waiting process, but I'm sure there's not enough there to for them to just completely try to throw it away, right? That's I think always people's biggest worry, and that rarely happens. Maybe
Yeah.
it's more edits than others sometimes. Sometimes average amount, sometimes not that many. But I think you'll be fine because your project, as we've discussed before on this podcast, is really good, and I don't see anybody trying to tear that thing up too much.
We'll,
We'll
we'll
see.
see.
But it is a
Oh.
draft, though, right?
Yeah, I did try to make it as complete as possible
Yeah,
though. But honestly, I'm also realizing that ideological differences can also shape how people read
that's
your
true too.
project.
That's true.
And I'll be honest, I have a spectrum of beliefs on my committee. And so that's what I'm interested to see how that's going to play out.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. How they, I mean, is anybody? Do you think anybody in committee has competing ideologies? Because sometimes that gets a
Mm,
little tricky when it comes to the back and forth of who to listen to. Like if your advisor says one thing, somebody else is saying another thing. So who do I go with here? How does that work?
I think two are definitely on the same page,
Mm-hmm.
and one. So my dissertation deals with like immigration and race, and I have someone on there who's more of like a policy person that
Okay.
doesn't really talk about race and stuff like that. So I am interested to see how he's gonna read things.
Yeah, that's gonna be interesting. That's gonna be interesting. Well, keep us posted, and I'm sure the BHD family will keep you in our prayers as you get to that
Oh,
finish line. As you get to that
yeah.
finish line. Um,
But how are you?
Good. This week just been kind of grinding, working on a book review is one of my first projects for my sabbatical, so I'll finish that this week, and then Sent a couple emails out, get a couple other projects underway. So yeah, getting my sabbatical grind started. Nothing too exciting outside of that. Watching TV, kind of relaxing. It's like without teaching, it's like you just have the pace is just so much better. Like I still
Mhm.
have time
Mhm.
for me in the mornings, get up, hit up the gym, eat breakfast, maybe watch a show or two. Then I have the mid afternoon where I'm getting some work done. I got my energy, and then, Kristen comes home and I'm like chilling, watching TV, catching up. So it's like a good balance where you don't have to teach. It's like, oh, I could do this. This is easy.
Yeah.
Getting the time out,
Yeah.
carved out to write and do things or whatever. So I'm really appreciative of that because I don't have to answer emails, office hours, get ready for lesson planning, grading papers. Like that's a huge chunk, and I don't think you really realize it until it's not there anymore. How much time that actually takes out of like you trying to be productive. So I'm glad I don't have to worry about that for the next few months.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've been on that writing, non-teaching life for a while. I don't know what I'm gonna do when I get a job because I'm not used to that grind,
yeah,
that
yeah.
pace.
It's probably more so the pre tenure aspect of it. Was like you gotta have that pressure of like getting writing done, and after tenure, you can just focus on teaching or just focus on writing, whatever. You don't have as much pressure, but yeah, that's another adjustment. But that'll be a good adjustment to have when you get there.
Yeah, fingers
um,
crossed.
before we get to some Oh Lord news, I want to share some couple of special announcements dealing with BHD. The first one is that we now have a BHD apparel store open on our website. So all you have to do is go to blackandhighlydangerous.com/shop and check out the latest apparel we have. We got a couple new designs with the Oppressor's Worst Fear tagline and some regular BHD shirts, some hats. I got one wearing right now. For those of you who are watching the stream, you can see me wearing one. So go ahead and check it out. Some people have asked in emails asking for it because we did it a while back. Well, how was it? Maybe a year or so ago?
Yeah, it was
A
about
little
a
year
year
and a
ago.
half. So yeah, well, we actually did it for a fundraiser for the Negro College Fund. I remember that. And then some people were like still seeing, I guess, when they new followers, new listeners coming onto our social media, seeing pictures of people having some of the shirts, and so I thought like why not just have the apparel store open for good this time. And so it's up there. You can visit the website, check out the apparel, and let us know if there's something you like, something we want us to have. We can kind of make those adjustments and add it to the store. And on top of that, the second announcement is that we've also developed a new way for all of our listeners and followers to contact us directly. We know there's social media, mainly social media, email, website contact, all that kind of stuff is the way people get to us. But I like to have a direct to consumer kind of medium, if you will. And so the way we do that now is simply is a phone number. All you have to do is just text this number, and I'll say it, and then we'll put it on the description too, so you can see it there. But it's also on the profile of our social media website, so you have many different avenues to see the number. But it's 781-786-7159. Say it one more time: 781-786-7159. And all you got to do is just text hi. That's it, something simple. And then when you text us, you'll get a response thanking you. There's be a form for you to fill out. And that form is just to help us get a picture of who our listeners are. So just basic demographic information, where you work, race, job, what else I'm looking for, education level, all that kind of stuff, maybe where you live. And then what this allows us to do is to directly talk to you all. It's not going to be a spam account. I'm not going to be blowing up your text messages, 100 text messages a day. It's going to be used very rarely. But if something special is going on, if there's a deal, anything happening, we'll be in your area. Who knows? You'll be the first to know by being a part of those text messages. And on top of that, we're doing a bonus. So when you do text this number, you'll also get a discount code to use at the apparel store. So it all works out. Send the text message, connect with us directly, and you can also use this as an avenue to text us as well. So if there's questions you have, I think maybe eventually we want to do live questions during the streams or maybe even the podcast, what have you. We can let you know when it's happening, let you know what topic we're talking about. And if there's any direct questions that you want to ask, you can ask on the spot, and me and Dav can answer immediately on the fly on time. So it's a fun way to just contact and talk to you all, directly. And I think it'll help us grow and paint a better picture of who our followers are and listeners are. So that way we can begin to tailor more programming towards who you all are. Right. So definitely check out that. Check out the shop on the website, and then email us or text that number, and then we'll take it from there. All right. Anything else, staff?
Nope, sounds good. Look forward to connecting with
Connecting
everyone.
with us. Yeah, it should be fun. It should be trying to figure out new ways to do it. And we know text messaging is really simple where anybody can do that anywhere, anytime for the most part. So it'll be easier than trying to do it through social media or sending out emails. You could just drop us a text and and then we can chat with you directly. Again, this is me and Dad, so it's not going to be anybody else. When you hear responses and things like that, it's not going to be some weird program or robot or somebody in a different country. It will be us, so don't worry about
Russians.
that. Yeah, Russians, all that information is not going to be hacked. All that kind of stuff. It is secure. I've tested it out. I know other people who have done it, and it's a really, really good resource. So send us that text, and hit us up. We want to be friends with y'all. All right, so it seems like a lot has happened this week. So I guess naturally, let's start with Oh Lord News, and then we'll introduce a new segment later on too, after we kind of finish talking about some of these news stories. All right.
Hello, and welcome to BHD News, where we give you the most current and eye-opening Oh Lord news of the week. Join us as we present news that'll make you want to say,
Okay, so for this first Oh Lord news story, we've talked about in the past the importance of having a diverse jury.
Mhm.
I know I was once called for jury duty. I couldn't make it because I was traveling, but in general, we want to see, we want the jury to reflect the diversity that's in a broader community, right?
Yep. I do.
Well, not everyone agrees. So, one Pittsburgh judge was pissed when the verdict did not go his way, although he ain't supposed to want a verdict to go one way or another.
Yeah, that's
But,
weird.
anyways, so they said in the court that after a defendant was found not guilty of it was, I think, a simple possession, and then the person had later been retried on like a count of possession with intent to deliver.
Mm-hmm.
He was found not guilty. The judge was visibly upset when he read the verdict slip and then immediately tossed it back to his clerk.
Mm-hmm.
And then he called the defense and the prosecutors to his chambers.
Mm-hmm.
And while in his chambers, he derided the prosecutor for allowing what he called Aunt Jemima on the jury.
Oh my god. Really?
Yes, yes. He was
Oh my
like,
god.
that juror number four, who was a black woman who sometimes wore, a head wrap,
Mm-hmm.
that she shouldn't have been on the jury. The judge said that her baby daddy is probably a heroin dealer,
Oh my god, man.
and that her bias is the reason that this defendant was found not guilty.
Oh my god, that's ridiculous, man.
Yeah, yikes.
How does stuff like
So
this happen?
yeah,
Golly.
he has been removed from active
I bet.
service.
I'm not surprised there.
Yes. Hopefully, he'll be completely removed, but they are investigating it. It was actually the defense attorney that like raised the issue, like, okay, this racist judge calling this woman Angel Mamas and her baby daddy is a drug dealer.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
wild. Oh, that's wild. That's definitely Oh Lord newsworthy. And yeah, the judges, they're supposed to be, neutral, unbiased, and clearly that was not the case. Talk about somebody Aunt Jemima on the jury. Like, that is crazy. I ain't never heard that one before.
And but it also, I think, speaks to like the process, like him kind of being pissed at the prosecutor for letting the woman on the jury in the
Mm-hmm.
first place. Like, oh, you should have known it was going to go this way if you let this black person on it.
Of course. Of course. And
So,
that's not your job, sir. That's not your job. You can't determine who's on the jury, who's not.
yeah, and don't be trying to strike people just because of race.
Aunt Jemima, man. Oh, okay. All right.
Okay, so the Super Bowl is way past us. Did you watch it?
Yes, I watched it.
Okay, did you watch the halftime show?
Like I was in and out. Really wasn't paying too much attention into it. It wasn't for me, but I know some people liked it.
Okay. Well, so a lot of people, conservatives, brought up the issue. They thought that it wasn't like a family friendly performance. And one pastor is actually suing the Super Bowl for putting his soul in danger of hellfire with that sexual performance.
Putting his soul in danger. Oh my God. To hellfire because of the sexual performance. What was it sexual? I don't remember anything crazy. It was just like a normal performance to me. What it was anything in
Well,
particular?
J-Lo did like was like on a pole, like in an ode to her stripper movie. I can't think of the name of that
Hustlers.
movie. Yeah, Hustlers. But I mean, I saw like clips of it. It wasn't that bad. But his soul is in danger after watching. I mean, that sounds like it's something wrong with you.
Yeah, he said
It sounds
hellfire.
like you need to deal with your lust,
Listen, oh yeah, that's what I was
Pastor.
about to say. It sounded like he just had probably some nasty thoughts, and out here trying to blame it on J Lo and him for the thoughts going on his mind. They just singing the song, doing a performance. We can't help what you
Yeah.
out there thinking, so you have to be responsible and accountable for your own thoughts, sir.
Yes, honey. You better pray them thoughts away.
And what kind of would that even like? What kind of lawsuit is that? Would they even? They can't win that. I mean, it's just yeah, you can't win
Uh,
that. That's
uh, yeah, I don't
uh,
know. I don't know.
that's wild.
People have all types of lawsuits.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a wild one.
Okay. And this other story, it'll probably lead us to some other Olor news. I thought that this was kind of disturbing. So
Mhm.
Harvey Weinstein, has been on trial for sexual assault and etc.
Mhm. Mhm.
Well, he has, I think his primary lawyer is a woman. And when asked about whether or not she had been a victim of sexual assault, she was on a podcast. When asked whether she had been a victim, she said, I have not because I've never put myself in that position.
Here she go, man.
I mean, she said, I've always made choices from college age on where I never drank too much. I never went home with someone I didn't know. I never put myself in any vulnerable circumstances ever.
This is sad, man. She crazy.
First of all, you do not have to put yourself in a circumstance
Nope,
to
blaming
be
the victim.
sexually assaulted, blaming the victim. And also, even if someone drank too much, that does not give someone else the right
Nope.
to sexually violate them.
Nope.
It All of that is on the offender.
Mhm.
I'm sorry.
Mhm.
They actually asked her, "Do you believe every woman who's been sexually assaulted somehow put herself in that position?" Um, and she said, no. She said, absolutely not. But we just have to make smart decisions when we walk out on the street at night. And I mean, it's sexual assault goes beyond that because I am always aware of my surroundings and
Mhm.
etc. But even if I'm not, that does not mean that I put myself in a position sometimes you have to be out late. Sometimes things happen. Like, I don't know. I don't like that.
Oh yeah, no, that's completely wrong. And no other way around it. No way to sugarcoat it. She's just wrong. It's that whole victim blaming mentality. It's I've seen in courses where teachers, especially in sociology courses, they kind of will, especially when you're talking about rape culture, and they'll ask, the boys, kind of what do you think about when you're ready to go hang out with the boys and go to a bar or go to a club? And most of the time the guys are like, I don't think about anything. And I put on my clothes and we head out. And then they ask the young ladies, and they'll be like, well, I have to, text my friend or my parents, let them know where I'm going to be at, have to make sure I'm not staying out too late. If I can't leave my drink alone, if my friends aren't there, I have to watch them. It's like all of these things that go in the back of their mind just to go out having a good time going to a bar, right? And it shows that the way we kind of the narrative we have in our society when it comes to rape and who's responsible for not being raped, we put that on the women, right? And that clearly
Hmm.
needs to be reversed because there's a lot of things that the boys and the men should be thinking about to making sure that this doesn't happen. But just the difference in thought processes show you who the responsibility falls on, which is just clearly not right at all.
Yeah. Yeah, we got to start raising our sons to like think about, am I making sure that I'm not making someone uncomfortable? Am
Mm-hmm.
I making sure that I really understand the dynamic that's happening between me and this woman? And you get what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it's changing that thought process for both
Yeah,
groups.
for sure, for sure. Men just got to start taking a lot of the responsibility has to start going on men. The bottom line, a lot more,
Hmm. Hmm.
especially in these social interactions. And so, yeah, we have to. A part of it is that we just don't talk about this in school at the ages where it matters. Teenage years, you're starting to dibble and dabble, trying to figure out who you like and romantic and all that kind of stuff. And we need to start having those conversations immediately. Like, this is the appropriate way to
Hmm.
talk to a woman, and this is, how the right way to go about things, and what consent means and all that kind of stuff. A lot of times you don't talk about it, and then people get to college, and then because of what they see on TV, things are reinforced, and then we see these terrible situations, and people also getting away for like Weinstein and others throughout time for sure.
Hmm. Hmm.
But I guess it's to be determined if Weinstein will get away with it. Hopefully not.
Yeah, hopefully not.
um,
So do you have
I got a couple
any?
stories. Yeah. One is I know we talked about Terry Crews last time and Gabrielle Union debacle, and so somebody else threw herself into the conversation in a recent interview, and that's Heidi Klum. Uh, she
Mm,
pretty much says that she pretty much said that she has been receiving backlash for her comments as far as defending America's Got Talent, because I think she is also a judge on that show. But a lot of people have been critiquing the backlash that she said she has received. Uh, Pretty much, she says a lot of people got mad at me. Uh, Clune told Page Six. She says I was called, for example, a white woman. No, I don't want to put that. Clue went
wow.
on to explain that although it is important for everyone to speak their truth, her experience with AGT was just different. So that was the biggest backlash she said she's been receiving. She was just like, everybody's been calling me a white woman. I'm like, come on.
I did not know that would be offensive if it accurately describes who you are.
And again, I think she's totally missing the point. I know why everybody's saying she's a white woman, because she's discrediting Gabrielle Union's experiences of racism and sexism.
Mhm.
Now, if she doesn't relate with the sexism, fine, but that's why everybody's probably saying, you're a white woman, you're not going to be able to connect with what Gabrielle's saying. And she's just taking that like, oh,
Yeah.
I don't. Why is everybody calling me a white woman? Like, it's offensive. Like, no, it's more context to that, Heidi.
Yes.
um,
Especially when a lot of Gabrielle Union's complaints were with the sexism and stuff, it seemed racialized in a way that Heidi Klum would not experience
mm-hmm,
anyway, with the
mm-hmm.
hair and all of that stuff like that. So
Without a doubt, without a doubt. Okay. There was another crazy story of this CEO who says his life has been ruined because he got fired as a CEO from his own company after calling an Uber driver the N word. I have the clip, some of the audio here. I'm gonna let it play.
Hans Berglund was the founder of a successful company last week. Now,
I don't have anything to do with the company anymore. I'm fired.
all because of an Uber trip, where the driver asked Hans to sit in the back.
Are you serious with me?
No, I don't like when people sit in the front, period. I'll cancel and refund you.
The ASU senior Randy Clark canceled the trip, but Hans still hopped in.
I'm here. I'm sitting
Sir,
here in the back
please
seat.
leave my vehicle.
Is that because I'm white?
No, sir.
You're
Oh, man.
So blown out of proportion. And it's ruined my life. It's ruined my company.
Randy now
Like, you believe that?
like, yo,
This is
that escalated real
real
quickly.
fast.
I
It's-
was calm and was like, okay, we might have different preferences around how this Uber ride is gonna go. So let
Mhm.
me refund you. And Uber drivers hate canceling because it counts against them when they cancel
Yeah.
on a customer. So
Yep.
he was willing to cancel and refund. Yo.
Yep. So I mean, it did escalate, and they showed the kind of video because I guess the Uber driver was smart, and they had a little video in the back, and so you can kind of see him and calling him an effing N word. Bruh, it's not that serious, man. Just call another Uber, man. now he's just like it's blown out of proportion that he got fired. Like, nah, bro, this is what bigotry and racism gets you, man. Like, you can't continue to function
Yeah.
normally after you this public information, especially you sit at the front of an organization. That's not going to be good for them bottom line. So they had to get rid of you, and I'm glad
Yeah,
they
I'm
did.
guessing, especially if the company is like publicly traded or has like a board of directors, like one, you are accountable to other people, and if
hmm
you are the face of the company and you gonna hurt the bottom line, they gonna chuck the deuces.
Yep, yep,
The same way that they did with the Papa John's guy.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. He was mad about that too. I'm like, bro, y'all just can't be
Yeah.
walking around saying the N word. I mean, CEOs of these companies thinking it's going to end well for you. It's not. It's not.
It's your behavior. Your behavior.
I want to talk about. Of course, we got to talk about this Gail King, but I'm gonna talk about one more story in a second. Which I thought was pretty cool because again, a lot of people on here might be educators, right, and looking for nice, entertaining ways to break stuff down to the students, whether they're in college, whether they're in grade school. And I found this pretty cool clip of this Ohio rapper who rapped about the three branches of government to educate young people about voting, which was pretty cool. So I'm gonna play it and then.
But all we know is the executive. That's the mayor or the governor and the president. Now, none of them three people make no laws. They just be checking them. The laws come to their desk and all they do is say no or yes to it. So when the news station tried to tell us that Barack Obama couldn't put us on, we was all salty at Obama when it was the Congress members all along. We got to focus on the legislative branch. Yeah, they the ones that make the laws. Yeah, they the ones write how much food stamp money you get on the card. But when people that wanted to help us wanted the job, I know they probably lost. Cause we ain't even know their name, we ain't know their face, we ain't know it all. So the Congress or the State House, that's legislative, they make laws. So what we want from the president is what they do. Okay, y'all? See, they election every 2 years, but we don't never even go to those. The Congress, they can raise minimum wage, but we ain't even really know it though. So you know how back in '08, when we all voted for Obama, we was all supposed to go back in 2010 and vote for the Congress. Cause they the ones make child support laws. They the ones choose if your kids ask the judicial.
That was good, right?
Y'all, that is great.
The rapper's name is Yellow Pain, so
Dude.
you gotta check his Instagram, and he got on his YouTube the whole video. It's really good, really good. I was impressed.
Yes, that is so informative. And what I really liked about it is it was kind of like concrete things that impact people's everyday lives, saying, like, okay, look beyond this figurehead at the top. Like, you were
hmm
supposed to go back in 2010. Like, he was reading people as well as informing people.
Yep,
I
yep.
like
It was
that.
good.
Yes.
It was really good. So I thought that. So check it out, y'all. If y'all want to, just break it down to your students and have a nice bop to it too. It was really good. So I wanted to share that for sure.
I mean, the T is some grown folks need to hear
That's also
that.
true.
Not just kids.
I mean, that's the truth too. Sure, we just can't be bypassing and saying it's for the youth. Maybe this will be a way that they can finally get it. Like, oh, I gotta vote, for Congress too, to make these
Yeah.
change happen. I mean, it's true. The bottom line is that we put too much onus on the executive office, the president's office, and expect them to do all these things. And it's important to know, even with this current election about to happen in 2020, is like, listen, whoever we elect, the main thing, if we can get the people we want in Congress, we can at least say if Trump wins, stop him from doing a lot of stupid things, or if Trump doesn't win, at least put a Congress in place that will get things passed that we would like to see.
Yeah.
So I think, in these past few years, that's, I didn't get it early in life, but definitely these past, I'm like, oh, the Congress is where it's at. And so making sure I vote in those
Yeah.
midterms is probably going to be more important for me than worrying about. I'm going to vote for both, but where I feel like I got to do it is definitely Congress in those midterm elections for sure.
Yeah, that impeachment trial with the Senate would have gone completely differently if
Oh yeah.
the Senate was blue
Mm-hmm.
or more balanced.
Yep,
Shout out
yep.
to Mitt
And
Romney,
even
though.
and even just putting conservatives in place that win, right? Even if they know you're voting, if they hear you, even if a conservative wins, they still can be more moderate leaning, right? Or just understand both sides and not be so extreme and bipartisan, party. I don't know what's the word I'm looking for.
Uh,
They're just like,
be partisan,
yeah, be
but
partisan.
also just have some integrity,
Mm-hmm.
because like Mitt Romney, that's what you call integrity. I might not agree with his politics, but if wrong is, I realize
Mm-hmm.
that for me the most important thing is I want a politician who's willing to say wrong is wrong
That's
and
it.
willing to do right.
That's it.
I can almost compromise on some policy things if I know that the person in office has integrity and is just
Yes.
gonna do what's right
Yes.
in general.
No, I completely agree.
So we need to elect some more people like that.
No, Mitt Romney, stand up. Shout out to Mitt Romney for that, because I think what stood out to me and what he said, and the reason why, is the things we've said before on this podcast, is like 20, 30, 40 years from now, y'all gonna be in the history books. And it's like, where are you gonna stand, right? And he's just like, listen, I don't want my grandchildren to see me on the wrong side of this, because he knows. And I know a lot of those Republicans feel the same way. They know it's the wrong side. And he's like, nah, it's not gonna be me. So it's gonna be one of the two that are gonna be like, nah, play it, this ain't it. And then his legacy will look different than everybody else. Who will be able to
Even
say
if now it's tough, 50, 100 years from now, when they're talking about this impeachment trial, he's the only one that's gonna come out looking good on that side.
Yep, looking good and being very reasonable. And like you said, that goes into the consideration of folks like us, right? Like, yo, if Mitt Romney was up, or we probably would consider what he has to say, because that integrity means a lot, right? Okay, what you over there talking about, Romney? What kind of I can listen to you now, because I know you just ain't completely off the wall, because we know when things get to a certain point, you're gonna make the right decision. I think that's all we want. We just want to feel safe in that regard. So shout out to Romney on that. And I'm sure we could talk about politics some more in a little bit too. But let's talk about this Gayle King situation. We talked about Kobe last week. Of course, everybody's been talking about Kobe. And then we've also talked about Oprah and Gayle King, and kind of what the pattern is. We've been noticing them. And what the pattern a lot of people has been noticing with them is the fact that they seem to be a little bit more keen on sharing the stories of sexual assault, but primarily when it focuses on Black men. Again, sharing those stories is very important. We all agree that it should happen. Victim stories should be told. But the pattern when it comes to Gayle and Oprah, as far as what they're being accused of, especially with Oprah lately with the whole Russell Simmons situation, and then also with the Michael Jackson doc, and the Gayle King with R. Kelly, and now with the Kobe Bryant interview, it's a pattern. And a lot of people are not taking kindly to it. And we already know how a lot of people felt about the passing of Kobe. And it was just very raw in that regard. So what I'll first do is I'll play the clip, because Gayle King interviewed one of Kobe's best friends, who is Lisa Leslie, a prominent, popular, one of the greatest legend WNBA players. And then we'll talk about the backlash that she received after that. So here's the clip, and then we'll take it from there.
It's been said that his legacy is complicated because of a sexual assault charge, which was dismissed in 2003, 2004. Is it complicated for you as a woman, as a WNBA player?
It's not complicated for me at all. Even if there's a few times that we've been at a club at the same time, Kobe's not the kind of guy, never been like, Lisa, go get that girl, or tell her, or send her this. I have other NBA friends that are like that. Kobe's, he was never like that. I just never have ever seen him being the kind of person that would do something to violate a woman or be aggressive in that way. That's just not the person that I know.
But Lisa, you wouldn't see it though. As his friend, you wouldn't see it.
And that's possible. I just don't believe that. And I'm not saying things didn't happen. I just don't believe that things didn't happen with force.
Is it even a fair question to talk about it, considering he's no longer with us and that it was resolved? Or is it really part of his history?
I think that the media should be more respectful. At this time, it's like if you had questions about it, you've had many years to ask him that. I don't think it's something that we should keep hanging over his legacy. I mean, it went to trial.
Yeah, well, it was dismissed because the victim in the case refused to testify, so it was dismissed.
And I think that's how we should leave it.
All right, Dad. So what do you think? What were your impressions of hearing that from the first time, when you did hear it for the first time?
I thought I didn't know why she put Lisa Leslie in the place to even have to answer for this. I thought that was kind of unfair, because whether that's my friend or not, I'm not gonna play judge, jury. I don't even want to be in it. I thought it was unfair. I think the interview should have just been about Lisa Leslie. And if she was gonna do it, okay, after Lisa had her first answer, just let it go.
Mm-hmm.
That was my thing. Okay, you want to bring it up because I did read. I read a lot about this to where I don't know if it was GQ or somebody, but Kobe was like, he knows that this will be like a part of like his legacy or history. So
Yeah.
even he acknowledged that. So okay, but to keep pushing, I I I don't think she should. I wouldn't have asked the question to begin with, but if you were gonna ask, just let it go after she gave the one answer that she wanted to give.
Mm-hmm. No, I completely agree. That was my first thing. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna give Gail a little bit of leeway because I'm like, you are a journalist, and so sometimes the job you just got to ask the questions, no matter who's sitting in front of you. But I think what pissed people off is the fact that she continued, like you said, pressed with at least 3 or 4 more questions after the initial one, which I think is what really irked the nerve. Because like, okay, you asked it once, Lisa was like, oh, it's whatever, la la la, and then you're like, but this, but that, but that. Everybody's like, all right, I get. What are you doing here? So let's play Gail's response really quickly, and then I'll kind of talk about how I felt after I heard what she had to say about it.
I know that if I had only seen the clip that you saw, I'd be extremely angry with me too. I am mortified, I'm embarrassed, and I am very angry. Unbeknownst to me, my network put up a clip from a very wide-ranging interview, totally taken out of context, and when you see it that way, it's very jarring. It's jarring to me. I didn't even know anything about it. I started getting calls. What the hell are you doing? Why did you say this? What is happening? I did not know what people are talking about. How he was starting his next chapter. It was wide-ranging. And yes, we talked about that court case because that court case has also come up. And I wanted to get Lisa's take on it as a friend who knew him well, what she thought, where that should stand. And I thought it was very powerful when she looked me in the eye as a member of the media to say it's time for the media to leave it alone and to back off. During the course of the interview, I asked follow-up questions because I wanted to make sure that her position and perspective were very clear. And at the end, when she said it's time to leave it alone, as I said, I thought that was powerful. And I insisted that part be in the interview because I thought that it put a nice button on that part of the conversation.
So I'll stop it there. So what are your thoughts, Steph, after hearing that?
I feel like as a media veteran, she should have known that her network would go for the clip that's going to draw in the most attention.
Yeah.
I mean, they want people to watch the interviews.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that is a hot topic. So I think she should have known. She can't say that she's embarrassed, she's this and she's that. I mean, you should have known that something, even if that was sensationalized within the context of like the larger interview, I just feel like you can't pretend like you're mortified because you did it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it happened.
Yeah, I mean, that's what kind of boils down to is like, yo, you did it, you said it, and so if you never did that, then they couldn't use that clip, right? I think, but they do want that salacious content. They do want the things out there that are going to get hits and likes and retweets, and it worked to exactly the favor. They don't really care. They don't really care about Kobe. They don't really care about Gail. They want them numbers because that brings in more revenue, and so that mission was accomplished. And I think it is. And Gail, throughout the rest of her rant, was saying that she's going to definitely have a intense conversation, in her words, with the network. But at the end of the day, what's done is done. They already got what they wanted. So I think they're willing to trade those blows. Okay, you can be mad at us, but we won't do it again, right? But they already got what they wanted out of it. And so I think, there was this, I'm not going to play this clip, but Erica Cobb, I think she a journalist as well. Can't remember. But she's a Black woman, and she kind of talks about, the importance of why people are upset with Gail, but saying that the important thing is that the historical context needs to be included in all these kind of conversations when it comes to particularly even Black men dealings with white women, and why there's this kind of disconnect. Because when you talk about cases like Emmett Till or throughout history, right, with Black men being falsely accused when it comes to white women, not that this is the case, but with black folks how we feel about these kind of cases, right? And then how white people are always protective of, you know, white women, how it's always been. And so when we hear these cases, there's always a certain kind of pause and reservations when it comes to black folks, because we just always like, yeah, we really can't accept this at face value immediately because of how we feel about it historically. And she was saying that that's always important, not to put judgment on Kobe and on the situation, but to making sure that every time we have these conversations that you are explaining why people may feel the way they feel when it comes to these situations. I thought that was a good way of kind of wrapping it up, saying like, as black women, Gayle and Oprah have to be careful of that because they understand historical context, and they are also responsible when they have their platform to show both sides of why people may feel the way they feel when it comes to Kobe and what happened with his accuser. And I think, yeah, I like that's important, right? It's not that we can't talk about it, but I think we have to be responsible on how we talk about it, not be accusatory, because they're already trying to accuse us for everything. Black folks, which way? And I think there needs to show more, you know, camaraderie within each other to make these things happen.
Yeah. I this is all, you know, really, I would say it is complicated.
Yeah.
I I don't know, but I do agree that we have to put like some context on it.
Mm-hmm.
And we do have to figure out how to have these conversations beyond Kobe. We have to figure out a way to have these conversations about sexual assault and rape
Mm-hmm.
and etc. within the Black community or involving Black people without it becoming like this Black man, Black woman war.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah, because I would like for us to move to that because the backlash was big, and now they're starting to be backlash against the backlash, and it turning into attacking or say like or responses, and some of them were attacks on Gayle King, has turned into like a larger conversation about like attacks on Black women, and then some people are pushing back against that and say like, no, don't represent all. So it's just kind of like, to me, it just represented how complicated all of this is to have these intersectional conversations within the Black community.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do we start having these conversations? I know personally, I would like to see, I think one way to be able to have these conversations is for, I think, Black men to start the conversation, because maybe they even may be more sensitive to certain things than Black women are, because we have our own experiences with it, to where we might not be careful of anybody's feelings. And so I think that's why it might be more important that moving forward, Black men start initiating these conversations about sexual assault or rape culture or whatever in the Black community, so that it doesn't turn into these like gender wars, because that's the way I always see it going, and then it ends up being just not a productive conversation at all.
Yeah, I can see that. I think that's a good approach. Sometimes you may not be the best vessel to get that point across or to get that line of questioning off the way it needs to be, and sometimes you just got to kind of defer to somebody else who may be able to, and just in a better position, not even be better at the job, but where it will be received in the way that you intended it to be received. And I think that's sometimes you got to take that into consideration, especially being a public figure. So I think that was a really good point for sure.
I think we have come to the conclusion that Oprah and Gayle are not those people to lead this conversation, and I hope after this they just kind of stop.
Yeah, they gotta chill out a little bit, because Oprah even got on and was like, you know, she's not doing well, you know. She's getting death threats, and nobody wants her to get death threats. That's extreme. Snoop Dogg should have never said what he said. It was just disrespectful, you know. It's just like, come on, Snoop. Other people that followed up, and Snoop has to be careful because he has so much influence that when he takes that kind of attack, he's gonna have a whole bunch of other people following up and thinking it's okay to attack this other Black woman. If you can be upset, but there's a way, in a respectful way, to say it. Like, you could be pissed off, but you don't gotta call Gayle out of her name, and approach it in a different way. So that was wrong for sure. But again, you know, I felt that, even I think we said this when it all was happening, is that there's a time and a place, and I'm just not sure having that conversation still when people are really mourning, even before like the memorial takes place. It's like you got to have a grace period and kind of let people's emotions get out of there, because once you start, people aren't going to be emotionally ready to receive it. And I just think that it was just a little bit too early. But yeah, so that was definitely worth talking about. All right, so I want to test out this new segment really quick called Hitting or Tripping with BHD. And in this segment, we'll do it occasionally. We won't do it every week. We'll play when it's the right time, or there's a clip that we think is important, where we kind of let a clip play, pause, stop, and then see if, what the person is saying, if it was hitting or if it was tripping, if they was tripping. So of course today, our very first person, I feel like we had to do this because I'll let y'all be the decide in a second, but it's Chet Hanks. We talked about Chet before when he was doing this patois accent a while back, and then he's come out to people were talking about him appropriating and getting on him about appropriating, and he released a video of him talking about appropriation and what that means to him. So let's play the intro, and then we'll start getting into the clip and then seeing what our thoughts are about that.
Is what they said hitting like Patty's Pies?
Patty! Oh, there we go. Come on, Patty. You better come out. Come on, Patty!
Or tripping like Kanye's lies?
I just love Trump. That's my boy. Like, when you hear about slavery for 400 years, that sounds like a choice.
Time to find out now on Hitting or Tripping with BHD.
All right, so we'll start listening to Chet's clip, and then I'll pause it whenever, and then just kind of get some brief feedback. I'm not gonna play the whole 5 minutes, but play some of it just to hear some of what he had to say about appropriation. And Chet Hanks, again, for those of you who may not know, this is Tom Hanks' son as well. So
I didn't know that before.
Yeah. So that also makes it a little bit more interesting. All right, here we go.
Other points of view that I've been getting in response to what I put forth. This is the main one. People are saying, well, snowboarding is a terrible example because that's a sport and you can't compare a sport to people's hair. Okay. That's true. That's true. But if you're focusing on what I said about snowboarding as a sport, you're missing the point. I didn't mean it as a sport. I meant it as a reference point for a community that surrounds it. The community that surrounds snowboarding is mainly white, right? Okay, yes, anybody can snowboard. Anybody can go forth and perfect their skills at snowboarding. I'm not saying that white people have a monopoly on snowboarding.
Daph, have you ever snowboarded?
No.
I never snowboarded either. But I know black people who do. But can we say, would you say it is a predominantly white activity?
Yeah.
I probably would say that too.
I would say that.
I probably would say that too. I don't know. I mean, I'm not trying to support this point or whatever, but I just want to see if we can vibe women, because I don't see, black folks in the cold don't really go together too much.
I'm saying it's a reflection point for a larger community, which is predominantly white, like snowboarding or like motocross or something. Because this is the other response I've been getting, is that people are saying white people have no culture. That's another thing I've been seeing. People are saying white people don't have any culture. That to me is confusing, because just look at all the different varieties of European cultures, like French people versus Swedish people versus, German people, whatever. So that's one thing. But second of all, okay, let's assume that's true. Let's assume that white people have no culture. But if they did have a culture, what would it be like? If white Americans did have a culture, how would you imagine that culture to be?
Well, Daph, do you think white people have a culture?
So I think the way I think about it is there are different ethnicities among white people. And within those ethnicities, they have their own cultural practices and traditions. White, I don't know, but I see he mentioned French, he mentioned, Irish. I see those as having like cultures.
I mean, those are also different countries, so like it's
yeah. I mean, you know what? So there is a white middle class culture in a sense that like they there are ways of being and acting
Mm-hmm.
that are associated with the WASP,
Mm-hmm.
whites, Anglo-Saxon, Protestant. So yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I would say WASP culture.
Okay. Yeah. No. I think. Yeah. Him. Yeah. I could see. One of the criticism of people talking about white people in culture. I don't think that's an uncommon thing that's said within the black community sometimes. But I think
People say it. People say
but I
it.
think it's a standard, right? I think you hit it right on the nail. The standard, and is particularly in this country, is a white middle class standard, which everybody is kind of weighed against or weighed towards. So yes, when it comes to education, presentation, type of speech, all that kind of stuff is predominantly what happens in those communities. So I guess we can say that is a culture in itself. But I think this is the issue with people like Chet, is that there has to be more. And sometimes even when professors, we've heard all this time where white professors will have courses on whiteness, and then people will get mad and have these classes canceled. I know on my own campus we do have professors who teach classes on whiteness. We've even had Ryan on here, other folks, they do this, and it's important because I think white people really don't know what whiteness is. His thing is, snowboarding and motocross, and look at Germany and Ireland and France. Like, no, bro, that's not what white culture represents in the U.S. So it's like you're just bouncing around trying to just say what white people do predominantly, which I think there are those things, but snowboarding isn't like a white cultural thing. That's a sport. That's why motocross is a sport. You're naming other countries. So he doesn't even have a good grasp on what whiteness is.
Yeah. So, it's different for me because I study, so my concentration in my PhD is culture, institutions, and society. So I do. But see, if I were talking to him, I would break it down because you got rural Appalachia, like people have ways of life. So when I see culture, I think it is ways of being and the norms that shape behavior and shape outlooks on life, not sports you participate in. That's like saying basketball is black culture.
Yeah.
It's not, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It goes much deeper than that.
Mhm.
And I think that leads to okay, I think that's going to lead to where I disagree with him.
Yeah. All right. So let's listen a little bit more and see what else he has to say, trying to reinforce his point.
I imagine it to be something like one example, like snowboarding. You know what I mean? Like the culture surrounding snowboarding, or motocross, where it's just mostly white people. You know what I mean? Not saying that it has to be that way or it should be that way, but that's just, for the most part, what it is. But if you don't like that sports, if you're getting caught up on the sports analogy, then let's switch it up. Let's switch it up to hip hop versus country music. If a white person gets into hip hop and they start wearing braids and gold teeth, some people call that appropriation. But if a black person puts on cowboy boots and a cowboy hat and gets into country music, there's nothing wrong with that. Of course there's nothing wrong with that. Why would anybody have a problem with that? So if you don't have a problem with a black person wearing cowboy hats and cowboy boots and loving country music, then why do you have a problem with white people wearing braids and gold teeth and getting into hip-hop music? Okay, well, like I said before, it's because this whole idea of theft, of they steal it from us. They take it from us and they take it for themselves and then benefit off of it without helping the people that they took it from.
Okay. All right. That's probably the last of it I play. So what do you feel about those thoughts about him trying to bring it to music now and talking about cultural appropriation that way?
Okay, well, first of all, it seems like he get it. Okay, or he actually here's the argument. Yes.
Yeah.
First of all, there's a power dynamic there. So Lil Nas X can get into country music. He can wear that, but he is not going to become the gatekeeper of that particular genre, of that particular culture. He's not going to become the gatekeeper in the same way that white people can come into hip hop or come into other and then become the arbiters of what's in and what's out, because we have to think about from a power. So the executives who decide what types of rap music gets played on the internet and what type of rap music we never get to access, which is more conscious. We don't have those same dynamics. Lil Nas X, He ain't gonna be the executive talking about, oh, we're only gonna play hip hop country and we don't get to hear all this other stuff. So I think that's where it goes into. Two, black men have always been cowboys as well. So they've always been a part of that culture. My daddy, he don't own dress shoes. He only owns cowboy boots. And that's just what it is. But we're also from the South, so he also getting some things mixed up, like country music. It's embedded within a larger like Southern culture. You get what I'm saying? So it's just like hip hop is embedded within like larger like Black and even Afro-Caribbean cultures. Like we've talked about this before, even like the evolution of hip hop. So it's just kind of like a don't mix. He has a lot of things mixed up, honestly. And also we talking about like who can become gatekeepers of people's cultural expressions. And that's just not gonna happen with Black people.
Yeah, no, not at all. I think he just a lot of things, like you said. One that stood out to me is, again, really not understanding whiteness, and it's just like this privilege white folks get to have, just to kind of think everything is theirs. Because I was like, he talked about cowboys, and I'm like, bruh, let me do some research, and I looked this up. I'm pretty sure that the cowboys didn't begin with white folks. Cowboys actually began in Mexican culture, in Mexico. And of course, the relation to Texas and Mexico, the close proximity makes a lot of sense. Like, that was their thing in Mexico. And then, of course, they influenced white folks in Texas, right? And then, yes, tons of stories of tons of Black cowboys that began at the same time where the white cowboys began in Texas, in those areas. So him even just making the origin of cowboys seeming like it's white folks thing is not. It began in Mexico. And then on top of that, country music. We all know that country music was taken by Black folks in this country as well. So it's like, Chet, bro, you don't even know what you're talking about as these white things. Yes, white people, the main market for these things probably now, but that's not where it originated from. It actually originated from appropriation and being stolen from, people of color. So it's just like you bugging all the way out right now. Similar to your dad. My dad doesn't have cowboy boots, but every time I'm at the house and I go down in the basement and the TV is watching him because he's usually asleep on the couch, what's on? Nothing but these old country cowboy westerns all the time, right? That's all he watches. Like, this is what I grew up on. That's what he watches. I don't know what's going on. They be looking so funny to me, but he be so into it, right? And so it's like, yo, what are you talking about, bro? Like, cowboy culture, country culture, it's, at least within our parents' generation, that's a big part of what they grew up with and are a part of, right? And probably why a lot of Black men love the team, the Dallas Cowboys, as well, right? Who knows? It could be a lot of things with that. So I don't know, Chet. So I guess in conclusion, what do we feel, Dav? Was he hitting or was he tripping with his statements?
Tripping.
Yeah, I'm gonna
because he don't quite get it.
All right, so let's hit
he hear it, but he don't get it.
Yeah, he's very clear on the arguments, but he's really doing all he can to dig himself in a deeper hole. So we're gonna hit him with that, Kanye.
For 400 years, that sounds like a choice.
All right, well, so that was cool. That was fun. All right, so we got, we've been talking for a while, so I guess this will be a longer episode than normal, but that's okay. I guess let's talk quickly about the Oscars because that'll lead us into today's topic. Did you get a chance to peek at what happened or anything, the major news items coming out of headlines?
Yes. So, I did watch the Janelle Monáe performance.
Oh, yeah, so that was really good.
Yeah, that was cool. I saw her live at Lollapalooza last year, and I thought she was good there anyway. Hair Love won.
Oh, yes.
Which I saw that short for the first time last week, and I was like, "Oh, this is really good." It was
but I heard it was really good.
Yeah, it was on Facebook, and I just decided to watch it, and it was actually good. I could see how that won. Yeah, those were the biggest things. Besides Joaquin Phoenix speech, and I think Brad Pitt had the little crack on the Senate.
The impeachment trials. Yeah, no, it was good. It was good all the way around. I wouldn't say great all the way around, but it wasn't terrible to watch. Even though I always talk about things like the Oscars, and I always have this push and pull, especially when it comes to Black folks, it's because we know they don't be doing this right, but then we still go. We may still watch. you may still accept the awards, which like we still look for validation in these spaces, and it's just like we know they ain't treating us right. I mean, like they said, we only had one, I guess maybe what's her name from who played Harriet was like the only black nominee, no black directors or women directors, and so it's like the Oscars still don't really get it, but yet it's kind of weird because every year I feel like you do the same thing. We go there, we tell them how there's no diversity, how they need more, and then it's just like, okay, then we go back again the next year. It's like they never really change. Some years are better than others, but they still don't get it all the way. But Janelle's performance was great. I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed Chris Rock up there with Steve Martin because they really, broke down some of the things. Even though they didn't really have a host, they kind of just introduced it with their opening kind of comedy monologue thing, which was fun. And I got to check out that movie Parasite. I actually tried to watch it this weekend, but the way I had it downloaded was wrong, and so I couldn't subtitles, but I got it fixed. I'm definitely going to watch it next day or two because all my colleagues have been like, yo, you got to watch Parasite. Like even when it had first came out in the fall, everybody's like, you got to check it out. You got to check it out. And now that I saw that they won, the directors and the writers from South Korean-based films, so the subtitles. So yes, y'all gonna have to read a little bit, but it's good to, expand our boundaries a little bit when it comes to film. But I think it has a lot to do with like class and privilege from what I gained from it. Why a lot of people like it are really good. But have you seen it?
I haven't, but I want to. I was about to say, you pirating? You should download it.
No, not pirating. It's out now on DVD. Yeah, that's why I said I tried to watch it this weekend. But the way it messed up, I had to like re-download it and fix it. But no, I'm not pirating. Don't trying to get me in trouble here, Dad.
look, you said I'm trying to be like Gail and give you a chance to clarify.
Give me a chance to clarify my story, so the feds gonna be out here trying to be knocking on my door. But yes, definitely shout out to the short hair film as well. And it's good because they had DeAndre, the kid who was getting in trouble with, school telling him not to graduate, as a special guest there. And so he promoted the Crown Act saying, hey, we need to support this bill so that way we don't have kids like DeAndre getting messed up in the system. So all of that stuff. So with the Oscars just happening, we thought a great way to a great guest to have on will be Dr. Martine Green Rogers, who is a colleague of mine at SUNY New Paltz, and she has her PhD in theater, and she is a dramaturg. So what better way to have someone with the Oscars just passing? And again, this is a field we really don't talk about kind of as much, the intricacies of theater and acting and what that's like, and especially having a Black PhD professor who specializes in this area in that. So it was a great conversation because I learned a lot about that world because I really don't know much about dramaturgy, and she really, really, really broke it down. And so I'm sure you guys who are not familiar with it, which maybe many of you will learn probably as much as you can possibly learn right now, listening to Dr. Green Rogers.
Yeah, it was really good to get insight on the behind the scenes, because we love movies, we love theater, but we really don't know what goes into how does this production really come to life and all of those involved. So it was really cool. It's a field that's small and unknown, so hopefully you learn a little bit more and maybe it can spark your interest in becoming a dramaturg.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so without further ado, we'll get into that interview and we'll catch y'all later, and those who are watching the stream, we'll catch y'all next week as well. All right, peace out.